Hello and welcome back to Live from the Hive with me, Katie Bessant. And today I'm joined by some very special guests, international guests actually, all the way from down under. We've got Sharon and Dee, the Holiday Home Girls, with us on the podcast today. Hello, ladies.
Hi, Katie.
Hi.
Oh, it's so exciting to have you on the podcast today. Yeah, so I'd love you to tell me and the listeners a bit more about you both and how the Holiday Home Girls first started.
Thanks, Katie. Well, we started during COVID as our holiday homes were really empty because no one could travel to stay in them. So we had a lot of spare time. So essentially, Dee and I consolidated our hosting experience and our styling experience into a business model so that we could help other holiday home owners and holiday home managers. And before that, Dee and I were sharing our hosting and listing and point of difference tips just with anyone that needed help. And we soon realised that new holiday home owners in particular really needed and loved our tips, our mentoring and economical ways to style and list their holiday homes. So the Holiday Home Girls came about in Australia.
Yeah, thanks to lockdown.
Here you are today, and you've both got holiday homes yourselves as well, so you know exactly what it's like to manage and do everything involved in running a let yourselves.
Yes, yeah. Like personally, I've had 6 holiday homes roughly for around 14 years. And Dee also has loads of hosting and Airbnb and co-hosting experience as well.
Yeah. So what inspired you to focus on sort of the styling side of things? Obviously, there's loads of things that stand out when creating a holiday home, and there's marketing and there's all sorts of things. So what made you decide to focus on the styling side?
Well, the styling side was really Sharon's forte. You know, it's something that she's just naturally really, really good at. And we found that she can walk into a room, into a holiday home, and virtually immediately know where we need to go in terms of providing a point of difference for that holiday home. And that's something that is so needed because, you know, it used to be that you could put up your holiday home and you would get your bookings and you'd have no problem. But these days, as you know, it's such a saturated market that people really do have to find their point of difference. And so that's where the styling side really came in. Yeah.
All about getting those initial bookings through the door and standing out on all the big listing sites and
Exactly.
Absolutely. We're huge on each holiday home having its own point of difference to help stop the scroll for people, you know, scrolling through, and why do they stop on your holiday home and not continue on. So that's a big part of what we do with our styling.
Yeah. Amazing. And I know, jumping back a little bit to the properties you own, I'm really interested to know how you manage your properties. Sharon, I think you've got properties in Queensland and you're based in Victoria. And Dee, I think you've got properties in Southeast Asia. Is that right?
I had, but now I'm co-hosting I host for other people at the moment. Yes.
Yeah. So I'd love to know about how you manage your properties from a distance as well.
Remote hosting.
As you said, Katie, my homes are in far north Queensland, which is where the Great Barrier Reef and the Daintree rainforest is. But I live right down the bottom of Australia in Victoria. So really being a remote host means you have to have great systems. And my previous career, I was a nurse for most of my adult life. And any nurses that are listening to this podcast know that we are system-based. We have systems for everything. So that really set me up to do well as a remote host. And I have my monthly spreadsheets that I send to my staff up in far north Queensland, the gardeners, the housekeeper, the pool guy. And I have a really loyal local team. So you never take that for granted. We all know how great it is when you have a great cleaning staff, and you've got to look after them and value them, and share your good feedback with them so that there is a loyalty there and they stay. And also my little black my little black book of tradies. So when I'm having a plumbing emergency or an electrical or air conditioning emergency, I have phone numbers to ring and I get it sorted. So it's just about planning for emergencies in whatever shape they may come and having systems in place, and then anyone can remote host from anywhere.
And Katie, it actually helps if you start off remote hosting as opposed to hosting a place down the road from you, because it forces you to do exactly what Sharon's done, right from the get-go. So you're forced to create really good systems and have your place managed really, really well, because if you don't, your whole business is going to fall apart. And so we find that people who are managing a place down the road from them don't end up setting up all of these systems right from the get-go, which they should do, because that's the way that you can step away from your business and actually have some free time, as opposed to be working in your business all the time.
Yeah, that's so true, isn't it? Yeah, when it's just down the road or next door, it's so easy to just kind of wing it, I suppose, as opposed to taking
Yeah.
time to consider what you
Yeah.
need to set up and what you need to hand over to people. So I
Yes.
think, Sharon, you mentioned that you've got some spreadsheets. Is there any other sort of systems that you recommend people set up to make
Yeah.
that
So
easier?
basically, my housekeeper and other staff in far north Queensland, the first of the month they get a spreadsheet with all the guests, what time their flight gets in, how many king beds we need, and they get a 3-month snapshot. So it means we can order linen and things like that way in advance, and not just in a very quick way. There's a lot more advance notice for my staff. And also, as I said, a little black book of tradies with all my emergency phone numbers, and having really good guest communication templates with my guests. A lot of my guests are international, or they're flying in to the town where my holiday homes are. So there's a lot of information needed. A lot of the houses are big. They sleep 10 or 12 people. So I need porta cots and high chairs. So it's about getting all that information early on, so there's no hidden surprises when they arrive.
And then we have those systems for direct bookings and for the bookings that are done on the online platforms.
Yes.
Yeah. And obviously those systems are so important and crucial to set up before even getting started on the listing sites and everything. So once they've got all these systems set up, and actually now they need to get set up on the platforms and stand out, how does sort of effective styling generate bookings for holiday homes?
Well, that's really going to make you stand out. So if you've got your styling right, that's how you're going to stop people from scrolling and get them to actually look at your. So it's all important. It's all important. It's the most important thing, really.
Yeah, and knowing who your guest is.
Yeah.
So you're styling for your guest type.
Calls them.
Yeah, that's
yes,
right.
Exactly. Speaks to them.
Correct.
Yes.
And if I could interrupt Dee, one thing that Dee and I come across all the time is owners or hosts styling their holiday homes for themselves.
Yes.
And that's a big no-no, generally speaking. You should style your holiday home for your guest avatar, what they want, amenity-wise, as well as the styling. And that is one of our secrets to success for our clients.
Yes. And I'll throw you another little secret. Once you have that beautiful styling done, if you go and take those photographs with your iPhone on a dark, rainy day and then just throw them onto your booking platforms, you're not going to stop the scroll. So there's no point spending the money and the time and the effort to make the place look absolutely beautiful and then putting rubbish photographs. So it's really, really worth having your photographs professionally taken, so that you're making the most of the beautiful styling that you now have.
Absolutely, I agree. And I've been guilty myself of going on some of these online travel agents and flicking through, and actually as a pixelated photo, I don't even bother opening the listing, even though it could be perfect for me. And they've invested loads of money and time into the styling. Actually, I'm just it just doesn't make you click through. So the photos are really, really important.
Yeah.
I'd love to know if you've got some examples of sort of key changes that you've made that have really made a difference to a property in their bookings. Have you got any examples?
Yeah, sure. Look, a lot of times we are challenged. A home might look a bit daggy. I don't know, is that a word in the UK? And we've got dated, and we've got to make it desirable. So, we talk with the owner about how we can do that in a cost-effective way. And also, a lot of our holiday homes are in coastal areas, and we don't want to be that cookie cutter coastal beach house look. So with all our coastal homes, we'll look at the era of the home, and if it's an older house, then we might have a coastal vintage edge with the styling. Obviously, if it's modern, we probably wouldn't do that. So there's a few little tricks to our trade, so that we're not a cookie cutter styling duo. We put a lot of thought into it. And yes.
That cookie cutter approach is I've cleaned a lot of holiday properties, and a lot of those had a sort of seagull on a stick, we used to call it. Everybody's got a seagull on a stick. Sorry if anyone's listening, you've got a seagull on a stick, but
we see them too in Australia. There's a lot of seagulls on sticks. And they should be back in the 1990s when they came.
Should leave them there. I'm sure a lot of your owners as well have want an input into their properties, and how they've got ideas of how they want it to look, and it's trying to balance your expertise with the owners and what they like. So is there how do you balance that whilst working with owners?
I suppose we spend quite a bit of time educating our owners, so our client that we're working one-on-one with, as to what we're trying to achieve and why we're doing what we're doing. And we really do emphasize that we need to be styling it for their guest and not for themselves. And they tend to be really smart and can take that on board. And then I suppose the next challenge that we really have offered is their budget. So, if we can try to work within their budget and be styling it for their guest, and trying to make sure that it's not cookie cutter, so that it actually does stand out. A lot of people here will do their holiday homes with, Target. Target is worldwide, aren't they? So what would a very typical? No, because that would be a little bit more upmarket. What would be a very basic place that you could department store in the UK that you could go and get your style? The range, just the range. Bare basics, but yeah. So a lot of people will do their holiday homes, and we can see the things. We know exactly where they're from, and you're not going to stand out if you've all got the same print that costs $15 for a huge print on the wall of a sand dune and some seagrass. So we really do try to spend time educating them, so that we can style it the way it needs to be, so that they can get the bookings and get a good return on their investment.
Yeah. And how else do you sort of market your properties? You mentioned the importance of styling and photography. How do your owners and yourselves market your properties?
Sure. So some of our owners have their own website. Obviously, our holiday home managers, have their own website, and largely social media. So Instagram and Facebook in Australia is huge for holiday homes and the holiday home industry. So they're the main
Yeah,
ways.
yeah.
Yeah. Which I'm assuming would be quite similar to the UK.
And
Yeah,
building relationships with people to do direct bookings. So
Yes.
insurance agents who do insurance bookings. Um,
Health professionals that
yeah,
go to different hospitals in different towns and need accommodation.
yeah. So
Um,
developing those
yeah,
relationships is also really important.
yeah, yeah.
yeah, exactly the same here in the UK. We chatted a little while before recording this podcast, and there's so many similarities.
Yes,
No matter
yes,
where owners are, whether you're down under or in the UK, so direct
yes,
booking website, Facebook, Instagram, and email marketing as well. Is
yes.
exactly the same
That's
over here.
right.
So
Yeah, we're very big with our clients who we help and teach with direct bookings about gathering guest emails, as you just said then, Katie, about, an email is another way to speak to your guest post stay and to remind them to come back again and book.
yeah, and I've also seen you do some really fun stuff in the properties with the boards, with the QR codes and the Wi-Fi and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah. Yeah. It's so easy. Or Dee is much more of the IT genius than me, but to make QR codes so that when your guests arrive, they don't have to put in a great big long password because they're tired, their kids are hungry, they just want to get the Wi-Fi. So
Yeah,
there's lots of things that
yeah,
we do just to make the guest stay so easy.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then in terms of getting their email and stuff, we also do the QR code that takes them to either your website or your Instagram or your booking platform, whichever works for, individual owners.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, talking about the similarities between the UK and Australia, where do you see the holiday home industry heading, especially with the increasing demand for sort of remote work and travel?
I think, because I suppose our competitor is the hotels and resorts. So, as a holiday home owner, it's about how do we offer a boutique service to our guest.
Yeah.
So, it's not just about a stay, but it's about an experience when they're staying at your place. And personalizing it. So, it's very hard for a big hotel or resort to personalize a stay, whereas a holiday home
Yeah.
owner, that's something we can do. We know the guest name, we know where they're from, we know their ages of their kids or what
Yeah.
they want. So it's about really making it more of a boutique
Yeah,
service.
and going the extra mile and, providing that little bath toy because we know they've got a little, 2-year-old, going the extra mile and just making that experience really special.
Yeah, and they can be really small things as well, can't they? That
Mm,
really make you stand
absolutely.
out, make your guests have a great time, they leave a great review, and then they come back as well. So a
Correct.
win, win,
Yes.
win for everybody.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Yes.
what about sort of the eco-friendly side of things? I've seen like a huge increase with this, especially in the UK. I'm not sure about you guys down under, but have you seen, how do you incorporate sort of eco-friendly elements in your styling or management to appeal to those travelers?
Yeah, absolutely. Like sustainable styling is really important to both of us.
Mm,
We don't want to go and buy something for the sake of it. If the owner already has some good pieces or some nice artwork, it might be in the wrong room or the wrong position, but we'll use it. And things like going to, we call them op shops here, or like charity shops over there, Facebook Marketplace,
yeah.
depending on our client's budget and how luxe the holiday home needs to be
Mm,
or not.
mm.
Um,
So we
put
try
a
to
lot.
we try to be as sustainable as possible in our own styling, and then I think Katie's also asking about sustainable travel. So people wanting to go and stay in an eco type lodge. That's definitely happening in Australia, and neither of ours are really in that along that line, are they? But there's a huge market for that. There's definitely a market for that, and I think worldwide, really, people looking for
That's right.
yeah,
To have less of a footprint
yes,
with their
yes,
accommodation. So that's not available to all of our clients, but to those that it is, it's certainly becoming a growing market in our industry in Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. And there's, as you say, Sharon, there's so many great bargains on Facebook Marketplace.
Yes.
Some real finds.
Yeah.
Hanging out. I'd also love to know, both of you have managed properties for a long time, and I'm asking all the guests on the podcast about their worst guest experience, because being an owner isn't all rosy, and sometimes it can be very lonely. And it can feel like the rare occasion where something does go wrong, it can feel like you're the only person in the world and there's no one there to support you. So I'd love to know about your worst guest experience.
Yeah. Well, Sharon, you start.
Okay, I'll take this one.
Sounds like this is a good one.
Well, there's two that comes to mind. One is polite and the other one's a little bit rude. But the first one is our beautiful big barbecue that is, beautiful cabinetry up against a rendered wall. A guest decided to set fire to the barbecue, and so the wall behind the barbecue went up in flames. And of course, it was a back-to-back booking. So yeah, that wasn't a great day to be an owner remotely, but we got on top of it. And the other one was in one of my smaller properties, when the housekeeper was checking the bedroom drawers. Our guests obviously had a very active sex life and left their sex toys in the bedside drawer, and my housekeeper wasn't sure whether we should post them back or not. And to be honest, I wasn't sure if we should post them back or not, or if that was going to be an OC health and safety thing. Yeah.
Wow, yeah, there's some good stories. Yeah, I bet you had your black book handy with the barbecue fire.
I did. And the little fire extinguisher and the little fire blanket, which is in all our kitchens, plus near our barbecue areas. So that finally got a use. They usually get dusty and never used, but finally got used.
And again, that's so important to have all your systems set up and make sure you've covered everything, isn't it? So
yes.
Amazing. And have you got one tip, if you could give one tip to an owner? It can be anything, doesn't have to be marketing or styling. What's one tip you would give a fellow owner?
Would you like to take that one, Dee? Like maybe
one tip. I think having systems for your guest communication is probably one of the things that can make your life so much easier. Instead of reinventing the wheel each time, having a system in place for all your guest communication, and it's something that we provide our clients. So, without that, I think people are lost and are doing far too much work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And can we have one more other tip that I just thought of?
There are two of you, so I suppose so.
We get one tip each. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't be just on one booking platform. Share the love. It's just smart to not be on one booking platform.
Yeah, I agree. If anything were to go wrong, or Airbnb were to go down overnight, which things have happened before, and there's been a mass panic, then you've lost all your bookings and your
that's right.
visibility.
Yeah, and And we've heard all the nightmare stories of people's suspended accounts, with a particular booking platform, and all of a sudden they can't get any bookings. And because they're not on any other booking platforms, that means their whole business is aligned with one company that really isn't going to give a damn about you. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you both. Where can listeners find out a bit more about you?
Thank you, Katie. It's been lovely to chat to you. So our website is www.theholidayhomegirls.com.au.
And our social media.
And on Instagram, of course.
Instagram.
And Facebook.
We love to do a good reel. Well, we love to do a reel. Whether they're good or not, you can let us know.
Yeah.
Your reels are great. I love your Instagram.
I love it.
Thank you so much, ladies.